Welcome back, anime fans, to Ghosts in the Cloud, your anime podcast. It is I, John, and with me is my co-host, Bridget.
Hey!
This week it's here. It's finally here. We're doing the episode on Cowboy Bebop.
No
and
pressure.
To do that with us is our good friend, Joe.
What's up?
So, Joe, as we like to do with all our new guests, we like to find out what is the anime that kicked off anime for them.
I guess I have two answers for this question, because there's the anime I started watching without knowing it was anime, which is definitely Pokemon.
Well, I've been there.
That's everyone's
I've been
life
there.
story.
And the actual anime I first watched knowing it was anime is, I don't know if you guys have ever heard of DNA Squared.
I don't think I have.
No, it's a show where the future's ruined by overpopulation, so they send somebody back in time to stop this kid from becoming the mega playboy, who fathers 100 children, and then all his kids father 100 kids, and so on and so forth, and it gets out of control crazy.
That's weird.
Yeah.
It's a strange take on Terminator.
That's what I was thinking about when I was
It sounds like
talking about it.
Idiocracy, actually.
That's my phone.
Shut it the
I thought there was going to be professionalism here.
Yeah,
I know,
This
right?
is awkward.
No, this is why he has to edit for so long, because we do
Yeah,
shit
it's,
like
it's
this.
really my fault. Okay, so following that question, what is your favorite?
My favorite is, my all-time favorite is the one we're going to talk about in this episode. So,
Yes!
I don't need to introduce that much, but it's Cowboy Bebop.
Yeah, it is.
Do you have a top 5?
I thought that was a person.
No, that's a cat throwing itself at the door
I was
to
like,
get
who's
in.
here?
There's a paw underneath the door, as you can see. Not for our listeners. That's a complete visual.
Imagine a paw at home. You can do it. Top
Ugh.
5 would be, in addition to this, probably X, Beck, Full Metal Panic, and I'm sure what I'm on the 5 spot. Maybe Gurren Lagann?
I really do.
That show's real good.
That's
It
great.
is really good. All right, well, thank you for that, Joe. All right, let's get into it, guys. Just in time for its 20th anniversary, Cowboy Bebop is a 1998 anime television series by Sunrise, originally broadcasted with just 12 episodes and a special due to its controversial adult-themed content. It would be almost a year before the entire show was released. Unlike many animes today, Cowboy Bebop was an anime first, then adapted into 2 manga series, with a film that would come later, released worldwide. In 2001, Cowboy Bebop became the first anime title to be broadcast on Adult Swim in the United States. The good old days of Adult Swim.
Yeah!
It is credited with helping to introduce anime to a new wave of Western viewers in the early 2000s. Cowboy Bebop has been labeled a gateway series for the medium as a whole, and often cited as one of the greatest animes of all time, which
Yes.
I have no problem agreeing with.
Oh,
100% agree.
hell yeah.
It still runs on Adult Swim 17 years later.
Like, this is one of those
That's-
animes.
really?
Yeah.
That's
Really?
They still
awesome.
play it now.
That's
awesome.
fantastic. Like, this is a show that I tell people, even the people who don't like anime, this is a show that even people who don't understand anime can love. Like, growing up, when I was still in high school, my sibling always gave me crap for liking anime. And then saw the show in English, albeit, but still, like, watched the show and said, this is fantastic. I'm like, yeah.
Well, this was one of the first, mainstream animes
Yeah.
that I saw, and I saw it. All my animes in the beginning were in English.
Mhm.
It's like my mind couldn't comprehend the fact that they were to have been originally in Japanese. But the Cowboy Bebop English, in my opinion, is better.
I agree with-
voice actors are fantastic, and there's nothing lost from the story, which you may see in other or newer anime shows that get transferred over to English. It's insane how this show stands nearly 20 years later.
It doesn't age.
Yeah, it
Like,
definitely stands the test.
We
Does not
just
age.
watched it, and we're finishing this, and I'm just like, this show is unbelievable. There's no other word for it. It is so incredibly good, and I love the fact that it's a contained show. There is the movie, which we'll eventually get to, but we get the full story. Like, we don't need any more. There's the drive to want more, but it's so perfectly complete in its own right that I don't think you could ever top it if they were to ever even attempt to bring it back.
Oh, yeah, no, there's no reason to do that.
There's no
Yeah.
reason to do that.
Yeah. There's only one thing we don't get. I mean, I'm going to touch on that later, but there's only one thing that I kind of want to know that I don't get to know.
Now I'm curious. So,
There is something that's not been answered.
here's
What
a
is it?
quick synopsis for Cowboy Bebop. Spoiler alert, but it's 20 years old. Get over it. You should have seen it by now. It's amazing anyway. The year is 2071. Humanity is spread out and colonized other planets in our solar system, having left Earth, which is now mostly uninhabitable. Due to a deadly hyperspace accident, 50 years earlier. With an ever-rising crime rate, the Inter-Solar System Police, the ISSP, set up a legalized contract system in which registered bounty hunters, also referred to as cowboys, capture criminals in return for a reward. The show follows the adventures of Spike Spiegel, an exiled former hitman of the criminal syndicate Red Dragon, Jet Black, a former ISSP officer, Faye Valentine, a femme fatale amnesiac con artist, and Edward Wong, an eccentric Earth girl/boy skilled in hacking.
It's a girl.
That's the thing. I agree. But even in one of the last episodes, the father figure who shows up is not even sure. And it's just really funny.
I think it's because he's a bad dad.
Yeah, it's probably because he's a bad dad.
It's been a while.
But
he didn't remember.
It's funny because they play on that throughout the whole show.
Yeah, it's a girl.
And of course, we can't forget the lovable dog Ein, a genetically engineered Pembroke Welsh Corgi. I like how they went into that detail.
Yeah.
With human-like intelligence, apparently. Aboard Jet's ship, the Bebop, they set out on random adventures, and they are so wonderful. Every single episode. The show could be described, when compared to other shows, as like a lot of filler. You don't really get a main story.
Yeah, there's 5 episodes that contain the main story.
Yeah,
5 episodes.
really.
But
like the first episode is a couple at the end and like a couple in the middle that give in some like background of the characters, but yeah, it's all like what you would call background. It's just the everyday average criminal. They all work together to conquer, and it's...
I don't even know if many episodes are like multi-parters.
There's
Not
two
really.
parters. Yeah, there's
Throughout
two?
there's
the
Jupiter
entire
Jazz and Real Folk Blues.
Yeah, Jupiter Jazz.
The entire show. And each and every one of those episodes stand on their own. And it's so unbelievable to me.
Right.
Because even in today's anime world, we just started Black Clover. Absolutely hate it. Can't stand it. I think it's a horrible show. I'm sure there's good points to it, but it only emphasizes
Let's save
that
it for the Black Clover
these
episode.
shows like Cowboy Bebop, and it doesn't have to necessarily be anime, but shows like this, they will forever transcend time. I don't think they could possibly age. And I love the show.
They can mean withstand.
Yeah, they could transcend time.
Sure.
Yeah, no, that doesn't make sense. Yeah, they could withstand time.
Okay. You guys have probably had this experience where you grew up loving an anime and decided, hey, I want to rewatch this. I missed this show. And then you're like, what was I thinking? Right? Have you ever had that with anime, at least, or with another show?
I mean, I'm sure. I mean, I used to like Yu-Gi-Oh! A little bit, and then I watched the show again years later.
That show's
and I'm
really
like,
bad.
This is really, really bad.
Right, like some shows don't age.
I still
or
kind of love it.
either that, if it was just intended for a younger age group, and now that we're adults, it just doesn't do it for me anymore. And, you know, there's some shows that are like that, and there's some shows that, like Showbits, like I was like, what was I thinking? Why did I really love this show? It is so sexist. And this show is absolutely timeless. I watched it again. Someone could have told me it was made last year and I would have believed them. But this show, like, it's just absolutely iconic.
We just finished it in Japanese earlier, and I literally could watch it again right now.
I know
in
I had
English.
seen it, like, I don't want to say, like, at least 10 years ago I saw it for the first time. And I remember liking it a lot, and it's just been so long, my memory sucks, and I was like, I need to see this again. I need to rewatch this. And I was just like, wow, this show is fantastic.
And there's a great blending of sci-fi and reality, and it's so easy to just understand where these characters are coming from, almost relate to them, even though their jobs and their position and just the world in general is so out there.
They're still very human characters.
Exactly, yeah. And the characters, in and of themselves, are just, they're so unique in every way. Like, coming from their looks, their backgrounds, like, there's nothing similar about any one of the characters.
One of them's a dog.
One of them is a dog.
Okay, this shows the reason why I want a corgi.
Same.
I actually also
I want
agree.
a corgi because of this show.
I don't want to name it
happen.
Ein, but I kind of want a corgi.
I kind of want to name it Ein.
You know what I love? Another thing, and I'm going to just be praising the show nonstop because I don't think
that's
I have
fine.
a single bad thing to say about it.
Nope.
But I don't think there's a character I dislike in this show.
I don't love Ed all the time. Ed's really out there.
Ed is really out there, but
She comes
when
in too late.
Faye is like, "You're a girl," and then Ed's response is because it's just the character is so twisted and so wonderful. It's just fantastic.
That being said, Ed's basically more or less solo episode, Mushroom Samba. I do love that episode.
Yeah.
Oh yes, that is a good episode. She goes out and captures the
Almost
captures
could have
the
captured.
the bounty hunter.
Mhm.
Yeah, that is
That's
a
great.
really good episode.
That episode might have some of the best music in the entire series.
Now, I think it's easy to say that 99% of the people who watch the show, their favorite character is going to be Spike.
That's me. I'm in that demographic.
Mine's the dog.
Jet, I think, is actually my favorite character, but
Jet's great.
Spike is unbelievably cool. Like
Spike's my
the
spirit
character,
animal.
literally, like it's an anime character, and he just oozes awesome and sexy. And you're just like, I want to be Spike. Like, you could say that when you're watching, like, an actual, like, live-action show. You're like, man, I wish I was that character. I wish I had that character's abilities. But Spike is so cool. He's got the look. He's got the, like, the skills. And there's, like, he even has faults. And the faults are so easy to relate to and just understand as a human being. And it's just,
He's real grouchy.
it's just, but that's, like, that adds to his charm.
Yeah, I agree, 100%. You're preaching the choir here.
That said, though, I think Jet is my favorite character simply because I've always liked the characters who kind of are good. Not that Spike's not good or Faye's not good, but Jet has almost like
because he used to be
different moral
the
compass.
officer.
Yeah, I mean, he was once the officer, now he's the bounty
SSP.
hunter, but like the reason he's the bounty hunter is not because he didn't believe in like the law.
That's because he got betrayed and all this stuff.
Yeah, it's all this other stuff that went on, and like
He's like Murtaugh.
He's also like the father
he's like
character.
he's like a classic good cop. Like he's like Murtaugh in Lethal Weapon. He's like one of those,
He's like,
right?
Spike is definitely rigged.
Oh my god, I've never heard
And
that
Spike is
comparison.
Riggs.
And I love it.
I love to think
I do
Oh
love
my
that.
god,
That
that's
so
a
much.
really good comparison.
That is spot on, I think.
But like, yeah, he's like the father figure, even though he's not old enough to be anyone's father. But he's got the moral compass, and he's the protective one. And
Badass.
when someone runs
arm.
off without saying anything, like start kicking things a bit, and he's like bitter about it. Like he's just, he's the dad.
He gets mad and he's like fine.
Yeah.
2 frames later, he's like, "Oh, what's going on over here?"
Yeah, I'm not a repair shop. You can't just stop by whenever you want. But I'm gonna fix this anyway. Yeah, he's the dad.
100% agree.
And then
Jet's a great pick.
He's so good.
So
He's
is
cool.
Ein.
Literally every character is a good pick.
Yeah.
I think Ein's probably like a tier under the other ones just because
'Cause
he
he
is a
can't
dog
talk.
and he
That
can't
is
talk.
the smartest dog in the universe and worth
Yeah.
millions of dollars.
Fact.
That's
That
true.
dog is helped.
I think of the
Conquer
5
evil.
characters, Faye is my least, like the one I like least. But that's because I think the majority of the show she comes across very whiny. But I think you need that in comparison to the other characters.
Yeah, the characters are
Jet
very
is very
cool-headed.
like
Yeah.
cool-headed, straightforward.
Yeah, you need
Spike
the
is like
diversity.
at times a loose cannon, but like he's just really cool and he
She-
knows what he's doing. He gets
Faye,
into trouble. He
I
knows
like
how to get out of
Faye.
it.
Faye's not my favorite, but I really like Faye. She likes to be pampered. You see her tanning, you see her doing her nails, do all that nonsense. You see her, she loves her gambling. She loves spending the money. Like she earns the money, she spends the money, and that's how it goes.
She's fiercely
So
independent.
something doesn't go
Yeah,
away,
she is.
she
She is
whines
fiercely
about it.
independent.
If there is food to be found, she will eat it and deny it and get a stomachache later. Like
And I
she
feel like
is
that's
like
something
that.
you probably didn't have 20 years ago in like regular TV. You had like these really independent female characters, and Faye can stand with the guys no problem.
Yeah.
She does many times.
Yeah, many times. Spike is the epitome of amazing, but even so, Faye is like right on his tails, and
Yeah.
it's really
Like
every character.
she backs them up
I can't.
a lot.
Can't deal with this right now.
Yeah, they give each other a lot of crap, but they
They're
like each other
they're
a lot. They're a family. They're
Like,
a family.
They realize that they're a family even when they're yelling and upset with each other.
That's what families do, man.
That's what families do. That's
Yeah.
true. Ed is our mystery, sort of. She's this, or he's this.
She.
No, she.
It's
She's
she.
yeah. She is a
She.
she. I know it's a she. I'm getting confused. She is this mystery character who you don't really get a whole lot of backstory on. You do get 1 or 2 episodes, like you do with most of the other characters, but she is there really for the comic relief of the show. And
Well, she beats some of the villains.
yeah, but like it's
She's
almost like
her tech is crucial. To
it's almost
a lot
like
of the
Looney Tune-esque when she's like rumbling with the villains or like off on an adventure.
She is she's a child, but
She's fierce.
she's not just a child. Like she's
Super hacker.
a super hacker, but like her child personality is magnified. Like she is just very quirky, very bubbly, very out there, and she, you could say like, huh? But no, she goes like, nani nani, like she repeats everything. She'll literally do things to annoy other people always have a smile on her face. I think she's my favorite character.
She's like 80% ridiculous, 20%
Yes.
helpful.
Yes. No, she's helpful a lot of, I would say half the time she's helpful, but she does it in an annoying way that drives people crazy.
Yeah.
And it's really funny to watch other people try to like deal with a child, but a genius child is just really funny to me.
Do you guys have a favorite episode?
I probably
You'd be
did.
hard pressed.
But
Yeah.
I'd have to
One
like
of
think
my
about it.
favorite episodes is when they're stuck on the ship in space, the Bebop,
Ooh,
and
ooh.
there's this like weird
Yeah.
creature
Yes.
that
Yes, that's it.
is born of this old food.
So Toys
Yes.
in the Attic?
Yeah, that's
yes,
it.
Toys in the
Yeah,
Attic.
that's
That
it.
is
Okay.
one of my favorite episodes. It's so like the way even it's like
the moral of
drawn,
that
the way
is
it's
so
like
great.
set up. You get like the view of the creature at times. It's like a horror movie.
It's Alien.
I
Movie
love the
Alien.
It
horror
is
thing
Alien.
Is that
It's
episode.
literally
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
All right.
And it's so good.
The moral, people, is never leave food in the refrigerator and forget about it.
Yeah, that's a good
That
point.
is important. You never know what's
It's the
going to
most
happen.
important of all 4 lessons in an episode.
It almost killed them.
With
That rock
throughout,
lobster.
yeah,
Yeah,
throughout the
it
show,
became
you
sentient.
do get the backgrounds of the 4 like main characters. Do you have any issues with those backgrounds? Like, I personally think Jet's background, Spike's background, they're really great. They're almost like flawless. Like you could tell that people who created the show really took the time to just like flesh out these characters' backstories.
Yeah,
and they
so-
only
and
give
dog,
us like
too.
a total of 2 episodes
Yeah,
each for them.
Ian
maybe?
as well. Ian was very thorough. Ed's was a little shorter, I guess, or just a little more just in
Ed's is
tiny
really
bits.
minimal.
Yeah,
Out of
very
the
just little
characters,
bits.
Ed is probably considered almost like a secondary character. Ed and Ian are considered like secondary characters.
I mean, obviously, Ian contributes the least because it's a dog, but the background was as thorough as the other characters. But Ed's background, even though Ed has been really big role in some of the episodes, the background of this character is a lot less than some of them. Like, we know where she came from, where they picked her up, but why she was there, why she was by herself, why she was separated from her family. These things were never explained. So, like, I feel like she was more secondary just because her background was less developed.
I think she's secondary because she's introduced so late and she leaves the earliest.
Yeah,
She's in
that
the
too,
story
like-
for the least amount of time.
Which
That's
is a
true.
shame because, very funny character.
She's probably there for like 15 episodes.
I mean, it's only 26
18
episodes,
episodes?
so it's really not so bad.
It's not, but like she misses a third of the series.
Right.
Yeah, I guess that's fair.
Kind of.
I mean, I guess a lot of the content of the show is alcohol and gun shooting and death, so I guess it wouldn't be right to have this character mixed in with that, and they're very good to, despite how violent the show was, this character was separated from a lot of it. So they kept
Even though
the
her main
child
episode
separate.
is all about drugs.
Yeah.
Right?
fair.
Yeah, no. But they did keep like a child separate from a lot of this like more adult content, so that's good.
Another thing that I think is just like artistically an amazing decision on the people who created the show. The characters, the designs of like the planets and whatnot, they look like they're from another era. It takes place in 2071, yet to me, like these characters look like they came out of like the late 90s. You know, like that's when they were drawn. It's fun to see how like the worlds that get inhabited and colonized, they take after like that time
Yeah,
period.
it's like everything's
Yeah.
cyclical. Everything comes back around.
Yeah.
This far in the future.
Yeah.
They're like we were then.
Then again, the show was written in the 90s. Maybe they're just like,
That
we don't know
helps.
what fashion's going to be like then, so let's just keep it the same.
Let's give him a suit. Let's give the other guy overalls.
Yeah.
Let's have her wear the least amount of clothing possible.
That's
Yeah, I mean they
that's
do
all
play on some
generations.
anime tropes, but even though it's like in your face, like they don't always point it out.
Mhm.
Like it's obviously right there to see, but it's not made fun of like how current anime does it. You
Mhm.
know, like if a woman's wearing like nothing, they always like emphasize that. You know,
Right.
they don't do that necessarily
No,
in this
her-
show.
There's
She
not,
was
there's not a lot of cleavage
realistic.
shots.
Yeah, she was more realistic proportions. They didn't go too overboard, like, and as most of realistic way as possible. They kept it more discreet, I guess. Even though she was scantily dressed, it was still believable. It wasn't overemphasized fan service like you see today.
I think it also serves to like emphasize, to highlight like later when she goes to like a formal gala in like a big
That's
dress.
true.
Yeah,
It's a real big contrast to
With
what she
Andy.
normally wears.
she dressed up really good. She cleans up nice.
Andy the cowboy.
That might be my favorite episode.
It's
It's, up
such a
there. Cowboy
ridiculous
Funk
episode.
is
Yeah.
so good.
It's such
Like,
a ridiculous
okay,
episode.
Andy was literally Spike.
Yeah, he's the
He's
reverse
Spike
side
Light.
of
He's-
Spike's coin.
The Spike Light.
He's Spike Light. And yet
they
he
hate each
he
other so
essentially
much.
holds his own with Spike.
They
for
hate
most
each
of it.
other
It's
so
so
much.
fun.
He's
Another
a little bit dumber than Spike.
That's fair.
Yeah, that's
One
so
of
true.
the other episodes I'm a fan of is and I don't recall the name, but you find out like there was this guy who was experimented on, and like he gained almost powers from it.
Oh,
and he's
Perot the assassin?
yeah, he's
Mad
like
Assassin?
the Mad Assassin. Looks like the Mad Hatter, and he's just this large guy, and he's completely unhinged, but he's like nearly unstoppable.
He's the Joker.
And yet his mind is like a
this
child.
Is great. I was like, this is such a cool character and idea, and Spike stumbles into this, and he's just like, oh shit.
Yeah, pretty much.
I love how they almost seem like they're the worst bounty hunters ever.
They kind of are.
Yeah, they are.
They almost never catch anyone.
No, a lot of the times they catch someone, but they aren't qualified to get a reward.
It's almost like they get in each other's way as well.
They also always let people go.
Yeah,
they've
like
got
they
hearts
realize they're
of gold.
good, they let them go.
They're like, we don't need money. We're always going to be poor and eating bell
Or
sprouts.
sometimes they'll be like, oh, it's a shame to the people who caught these villains because you can't get a reward for them because of this. And they're like, oh shit, we did that. Like, every single time.
It's half incompetence, half real bad luck. Even though Spike has really good luck, which is weird.
Yeah.
It is weird. Although, arguably you could say it runs out as the show concludes. I mean, you don't know the fate of Spike, but...
You really don't know.
That's intentional, though. I don't think luck's got much to do with that.
I think that's
luck is
the reason.
Getting him all the way through.
I think the best luck is that people haven't tried to continue the show.
Well,
agreed.
That is only part true, as a live action is in development.
I hear this rumor every year or two, and it's never happened yet, so I'm standing firm that's never happening.
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about this. As from someone who loved Firefly,
basically, this is basically Firefly.
I was like, this is basically Firefly, except it's more adult. You know, it's darker. I don't know if I would ever want to see these characters conceptualized as real people.
Well, people hate change, but at least the concept of space cowboy, we've seen it through Firefly. That does translate.
No, not that the show would be bad necessarily.
People loved Firefly. If they play their cards right, I think that it could be a great live-action movie, as long as they stay true to the story, because this story is iconic. People love it the way it is.
Oh, it's not a movie. It's going to be a full-on show.
It's going to be a show.
And it's not going to take... I don't think it's going to necessarily take from what we've seen in the
anime. Then good luck.
Then where in the world is this going to take place?
If it's not true to the story that's here, I don't know how.
I mean, unless it's just random adventures we don't see,
Yeah, if they stay to the formula of the average episodes, the usual bad guy, we're going to work together to fight against each other to try to catch this guy and not make any money, that would be really funny. And I think people really enjoy it. I think Firefly fans would actually get into it too. I think that if they were to try to go against any of the story that's in the show, I think they would be causing problems, which happens in a lot of live actions. They don't stay true to the show. People do not like it.
I don't think I could ever place who would be the best fit for these characters, even just based on looks.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
I'm thinking. I'm not coming up with anything.
Good luck casting Ed.
It should be a diverse cast, though, right? The way I see it is, Jet, although he's not drawn as a black guy, he has that sort of, I don't know, demeanor, maybe? I would have him as
I feel like the hair is more...
As
I hope young Jet had a full
head of hair.
Full head of hair with a fro.
I could see Faye being actually Japanese.
Yeah,
or Chinese. She's fair skinned, and then Ed's
tough.
Ed's tough. Maybe I know I can't.
You gotta get a child actor, but one that's
she's
good
got
at being over the top and not
just
too over the
coarsely
top.
chopped red hair, fair, not fair skin though. So maybe
an Indian.
Yeah, maybe
it's so strange to try.
I don't know, but they have a nice diversity. It's just hard to kind of cartoon style.
I would just hope that a live action sticks to the diversity.
I'm sure they will, because everyone cares about being politically.
Don't worry, they're not going to make it.
Everyone.
Yeah, that's probably true. We can just hope that they won't make it.
Yeah,
it's easier that way.
We can come back to this every other year and just
save
enjoy
us the trouble.
it.
Save us the heartache.
All right, so let's talk about the main arc for a second. That is Spike's story. It's him having left the Red Dragon Syndicate for love. Doesn't turn out the way he wants it to. As far as that story, is it strong enough? I don't necessarily know if it's strong enough where it could do more than what they already did with it.
I don't think
if they made this more of a prominent feature in the show, do you think the show would be as good?
I mean, it's strong enough, because if you There are 5 main episodes that focus on Spike's arc, like the whole main story of this. It's episode 5 and then the 2 two-parters. So if you combine them all into a movie, that's like 100 plus minutes.
That's fair.
Of main story. And then if you're going to run it for 26 episodes, like they're going to have some Monster of the Weeks, and they do. They have 21 of them with a little glimpse into like backstory in not the beginning, but how things used to be. I think it's enough.
No, you cannot let her in. She's staying out there forever.
Okay.
Forever.
I feel like they have a really great balance going on because most of the episodes, like you said, Monster of the Week, and yet we are satisfied with that for the longest time. We're like, wow, this is great. You eat it up.
Nothing ever seems like it's a repeat.
Right, and yet you're not, like, you're okay with it, and you're not questioning too much, like, I want to know more. Like, we're always thinking about it, but, like, the episodes are so good that we're happy with how the show is. And then they give us that little spice at the end. Wow, he was part of a syndicate. He was part of a bigger, darker organization. He left. He had this love interest. And we learn all of this at the end. And I feel like it wraps it up really well. Like, it was just like, wow, this was going on the whole time in his head. And he was just playing it so cool that we had no idea. And I feel like if they had more of it earlier on, it wouldn't have had that great impact.
Well, you get it. You get what's happened to him early on, but you don't get any details.
Yeah, not too much. It's like hinted.
You just like know that he was there, and
you don't find out to the end that he was actually part of that syndicate that he is trying to avoid. Because they leave the big kicks at the end, it has that greater impact. And I don't think they should. I like the way they balance it out. I don't think they should have any more information earlier on. I think they had a nice balance.
I think Tammy really likes you, Joe, because she doesn't normally do this.
She does.
Animals
What are you doing? What are you doing?
Joe's in there.
What are you doing?
Just gonna leave this in.
She can't come in. Are you sure she can't come in?
Yes, I'm sure she can.
But we have a guest. Can it be an exception?
No.
But she'll stop scratching.
No, I don't care.
She'll stop scratching.
I don't care.
Do you have like cat mittens you can put on her?
I love you so much. Go away. She just wants to come in.
She's not allowed.
But she's sick.
No, she's fine.
No, she is sick. She is. She still limps a lot.
Well, the reason for her not to be in here.
She's got the cat sniffles.
Because
she just needs to be separate from the mouse.
She's not allowed to be in here.
So professional, right?
You should hear my show.
Throughout the show, you see the impacts of other genres, like westerns, crime shows. As Joe said earlier, the one episode is essentially Alien. They like to take from pop culture and just real life, and it was...
borrow really well. It's references, like Toys in the Attic. In Alien, they're running away from a killer alien that a scientist brought on because of science. In this one, it's food that was left in the fridge too long. It becomes like this goo monster.
Yeah.
Because Spike was hiding his food in the extra fridge so no one else would eat it on him, which is classic Spike.
Yeah.
Well, considering Faye, I understand it. Although that was probably
before Faye.
Before
you forgot
Faye,
about it for like a year.
That's fair. But Faye steals everyone's food.
She even ate Ein's food. Like, there was only a can of dog food
I
left.
know.
And she's like,
Right.
girls
She's a
gotta
monster.
eat.
She's
so
a
gross.
monster.
Oh, God.
Although they do, in one episode, make fun of that. She steals Jet's food and ends up having, like, terrible
Oh, because it's
stomach
expired.
pains.
Yeah.
Yeah, expired like a
For,
year
like,
prior.
and she's, like, out of commission the entire episode.
We didn't feel like writing lines for Faye this episode, so let's have her eat some bad food.
You know what? Don't eat other people's food.
There's
Just
a
don't
lesson
do
here.
it. Just don't do it.
Yeah, the moral of the story. So, would you argue that this show kickstarted the Space Cowboy of cartoons?
See, that's the thing. Like, it came out in
98.
the late 90s, but Japan has been pumping out animes forever. So...
You can't say it's been forever. The
It's
first
been-
big anime started in the 80s.
No, it started in, like, the 50s, the Astro Boy.
Yeah, but those weren't like world renowned. They didn't really pick up until like the 80s.
I don't know if it started the Space Cowboy genre.
No, not original to it, but like really kickstarted it. I feel like it was the first that was like global. Like, this is awesome.
It's a really prominent entry in it,
Like,
for
yeah,
sure.
like really
fair.
like kickstart to like Space Cowboy. And even when you watch the show, sometimes it'll show in like the cutscenes, it'll say like kickstarting a new genre.
Oh, yeah,
Promotes
it does say that.
itself as like the kickstart of the Space Cowboy of genres. Like, it self-proclaims it. So, I mean, is it true, do you think?
Yes, I'm not going to argue
Yes,
with the show.
it is.
But has
great,
anything
I
come
would back
from...
it.
Like, do you... Like, that's the thing, though. Are there any shows after this, date-wise, that say to you, okay, this is like a Space Cowboy show?
Trigun.
That's a good point.
I love Trigun.
There's a lot of
Trigun's
Trigun,
awesome.
like watching these two shows, because I've seen both shows, and yeah, there are a lot of similarities where I could be like, yeah,
Yeah,
That's
they're
so Trigun.
a class
That's fair.
together.
The show.
Trigun and Cowboy Bebop are like brothers.
Or at least cousins.
They're cousins. Yeah, they're not brothers, they're cousins. I'm sure there's more. I guess
guess that's fair. I just, when I think of a space cowboy type genre, Cowboy Bebop's the only thing that comes to mind. I would have never thought of Trigun, although I'm a big fan of it.
I would say for a good 15 years, Trigun was my absolute favorite anime. Oh, Trigun.
Trigun's probably top 10 for me.
Yeah, it's still top.
I like that show.
Have you seen it, John?
I have seen it. I've seen it like multiple times.
John has seen Trigun 18
How did you say
times.
so? Matter of fact, I was not with you for any of those times.
I'm just saying.
Okay, great.
I'm just saying.
Okay.
You go to sleep too early. John watches it every night on his iPad.
Yeah, probably do.
Probably would have no idea.
I wouldn't have no idea.
I could have been so early.
He puts on one episode and falls asleep. When he wakes up in the morning, the show's over.
Yeah.
No, seriously, he's always on his phone or his iPad, and I'm like passing out at midnight. He's like, nope.
Power through 6 episodes. Sorry.
No, it's fine. Another thing that can't go unnoticed or unsaid is the music in this show.
It's phenomenal.
Yes.
So good.
Hands down, the best music in any anime, in my opinion. Like, I cannot
But I've watched
even...
yes.
Top 3.
I can't even think of other shows where I liked the music more. And not that, like, shows don't have good music, but this takes from everything. And it's, like, it's realistic music. At times, I'm like, I know I've heard this song, like, elsewhere. You know, it's not, like, stuff that's made specifically for the anime, so to say. It's just, it pulls from everything, and it so seamlessly weaves it into the show, the episodes, and just everything. And the intro has to be, in my opinion, my favorite and potentially the best intro of all time.
I
the
would
jazz
not argue that.
Music, just the beat, it gets you pumped to watch it. Like I said earlier, I don't think I have a single bad thing to say about the show.
It's iconic. The music is iconic. I love
very, very good.
the jazz vibe, and then having those couple episodes with the jazz player.
Oh yeah,
the saxophone player.
Gren. I forget what his name is. I forget if it's an E or not.
But like seeing him play like the saxophone and that really slow tune, and I've always had the soundtrack to the show like on my iPod, and I always like driving to college, playing my iPod, my music, and the soundtrack to the show would always come up. Hearing like the intro and the Real Folks Blue ending song, and hearing the saxophone solo, and it's just everything. Every song in the show is absolutely amazing. And I like how like some of them are also in English, which is interesting. Everything about the show is just amazing.
Well, Japan loves our music.
Yeah, why?
They love our culture and our music, so
it
doesn't surprise me at all that they put English songs
great,
in there.
But I'm just curious.
I'm all for Japan loving us because I love Japan.
The feeling is mutual. But
what a bromance between U.S. and Japan. Am I right?
We've come a long way.
I'm not a bro, but I agree.
It's the country. The countries are bro.
Yeah.
Or broettes. I don't know what the female version of bro is.
That, like broettes. So.
Yeah, I got nothing.
I'm fine with going with that.
Yeah, broettes. What about like the lifestyle of them as bounty hunters? That's pretty interesting.
They're destitute
like I think
all the
about,
time.
Like I think about like Han Solo. There's like so many other iconic like bounty hunters, and you think about their lifestyle. I think theirs is
just so we clarify. Han Solo is a smuggler. He's not a bounty hunter.
Yeah,
I know what you were. I know what you were saying. I know what you meant.
Wow.
But I just want to clarify.
Bridget a super nerd is correcting me right
Bridget
now.
knows the difference. She knows that Han Solo is a smuggler.
Everyone out there, calm down.
It's fine.
Everything's okay.
If you want to send hate mail, we'll read it just because we want to get mail. But I'm just saying.
I'm typing in one right now.
We know. I'm sorry to cut you off.
That really killed the mood.
I apologize.
Oof.
Thanks, John.
Well, you need to know.
Intermission.
Knowledge is power. So, but no, really, like I like their lifestyle. Like it seems almost laid back.
You like their lifestyle?
No, I like how they depict it. Like they seem
almost
laid back half the time, considering how violent the show gets.
They just accepted their fate.
Yeah, they're just going through life.
Yeah, they really are. Like it's a very laid back way to live a violent life. They're just kind of like going with the flow. You know, maybe one day I'll be just eating in the back, or I'll be tanning on the deck of the ship. You know, you never know. But it just seems a very laid back lifestyle, considering they're spending half the time shooting guns.
Anytime they do have money too, they like instantly blow it in the same episode.
Yeah, mostly because of Faye. Faye loves her gambling.
Easy come, easy go.
Yeah, really. But
yeah, she is a really bad gambling addict.
She's bad.
She needs a 12-step program.
She knows when to quit. She needs to know when to quit.
It's when you're up, Faye. You quit when you're up.
Lesson 1 over.
Yeah.
All lessons over.
I love how they make the history of the show so believable that it's like hearing it from a history book. Like, they explain how they have this gate technology to travel long distances in space. And then they explain how one of the gates near the Earth explodes and it pretty much destroys the Earth and makes it inhabitable because of all the meteor showers. And then they explain how from there, using this gate technology, they inhabit other worlds. And yet they do it in such a short time in tiny clips and just watching the episodes, seeing it in the background. And it's like beautifully illustrated.
It's really good
and
world
so
building.
believable that you're like, yeah, I can see this happening.
Yeah,
like, it's
that's
just
true.
really well drawn, really well written, like the whole background, just in the background, every detail of the show.
And despite it taking place in space and them actually traveling at times, the sci-fi element of the show is not a large piece.
It's just technology. Yeah. It's just the fact that we go through space now in ships.
Yeah.
Like, it's Tuesday, I'm in my ship.
Yeah, it's really just background story considering how much time
there's no aliens,
they
there's
put
no
into
superpowers.
I mean, there's the one episode that I'm a fan of also. It's towards the end, and I don't recall what the episode name is, but Jet goes to see, like, the feng shui master that presumably died. And
I think it's Boogie Woogie Feng Shui.
I know. Joe's so good with names.
I love this show.
Yeah. And that's a really good episode, and that's like one of the episodes where they heavily talk about sci-fi, as well as the one with the assassin Mad Hatter guy. They have like these experiments that make him.
And the Scratch episode, there's the guy in the coma.
Yeah.
That made his own cult on the internet.
Right. Yeah. That's
crazy
stuff.
That's
a good episode too.
Yeah, they're all good episodes.
Yeah.
Oh man, maybe I'm thinking of it differently. Is that the one where the guy is playing chess?
No, that's
in the space station.
That's a different one.
That one I love too. Like, I love that episode. I thought that was such a good episode.
How about those 3 old guys that
love
show
those guys.
up in the background
and
of
like the
every
first
episode?
6-7 episodes, they're in like the very first scene.
We help build this town. We help cultivate the soil. Yeah, we work really hard.
They're like in the
buddies. Yeah.
Where are those 2 buddies you're talking about?
Yeah. Yeah, we're there too. What are you talking about?
They kind of fade them out for like the middle chunk of the show, and then they bring them back.
And
you're just like,
those guys,
so
the 3 amigos.
Oh man,
and they're back. Yeah,
they're great little moments like that. Like the one host from Big Shot. You see him in the airport greeting his mom. And he's not in costume anymore, and you're like, oh my god, that's the guy from Big Shot.
Don literally just said that when we were just rewatching the show. He's like, oh my god, it's the host from the show. And you see him like visiting his, like taking his mom into his care. He's like, I want to live together and take care of you. She's like, what about your show and your co-host? He's like, don't worry about it. Because didn't they get rid of the show?
Yeah, they canceled it right at the end.
So they can't explain why? I guess not.
I think maybe it's just to sort of signify we're going to be wrapping it up. By closing down the show that tells you about bounties all week, you know that the gang isn't going to be bounty hunting.
Yeah, but that show is great. They should never have canceled it.
We need some shows like that.
Yeah, the show should be around. Oh my god, can you imagine that show existing in our reality? Oh hell no.
I'm going to take up bounty hunting.
Wait, can you imagine a vigilante in our reality? Because I cannot. Like, how awesome would that be?
I've often depicted myself
of course
in a vigilante-like role. However, that has long since... The potential for that has long since passed.
You're not that old.
I'm not that old. I'm just that out of shape.
No one would be able to. Like, even someone with superpowers, like...
Dwayne Johnson could.
Yeah, no one
That's true. The Rock probably could.
Yeah, The Rock. The Rock is a superpower. He should run for president. I feel like he's thought about it.
He would get at least 5 votes.
He probably would win.
Yeah. He probably would win. I know he had jokingly mentioned that he would run for president. I was like, yes.
I think he's like the highest paid actor right now.
In Hollywood.
Over like the last year. Yeah, it's insane.
Yeah, he is.
He's done a lot of movies too.
That's true. I mean, he's pumping out movies left and right.
He's done like every movie, I thought.
He loves to act. People love watching him, so why not?
Keep it going.
He's like Nicolas Cage, but better at acting.
We digress.
Yeah. So Cowboy Bebop, huh?
Yeah, Cowboy Bebop. The Rock's on it. I'm sorry.
I mean,
can we cast The Rock as Jet?
Yeah!
Oh my god, let's cast The Rock as Jet. That is perfect.
Fantastic. Okay, so we have one down.
One
Would
down.
he do a TV show?
20%.
I don't know if he would do a TV show.
He does a TV show. It's on HBO.
That's true. He does Ballers.
Yeah. So
Isn't he in another one too, actually?
Maybe, but you could put this on like
Oh
a
my
premium
god,
cable
that would be
network.
so good.
Netflix
The Rock is
original.
Jet.
Amazon. Somebody
my
pick
God.
this up. Write Dwayne a letter.
We're gonna have to start tweeting Rock for Jet.
Hashtag Rock for Jet.
Hashtag Rock for Jet.
All right, guys,
Hashtag
you're
Cowboy
listening.
Bebop.
Please use the hashtag Rock4Jet.
The Rock for Jet.
The Rock4Jet, and we'll be out there. We'll be looking for it, and we'll be posting.
Oh man.
The other characters, we need ideas. If I think of something, I will totally share it. He's not
You-
like a beefy
you
guy,
swung
Spike.
Joe and
Spike
you hit
is
it out
like
of the
tall, lean.
It just came to me.
Yeah,
He's
a
got
very
fluffy
tall, lean
hair,
guy.
you know,
He's got
I don't
such
know.
cool hair.
He's got the
That's not
hair.
great
Like,
hair.
that's important.
That's a wig, though.
No, it doesn't have to be a wig.
Yeah.
I feel like they'll probably just pick
It needs
someone
to-
that
I feel like it
fit
needs
that.
to be real hair. It needs to be wavy.
I feel like, yeah, just pick
Good
someone
luck.
that has
Yeah,
wavy
no,
hair.
I agree, but still.
Someone with fluffy hair. That's really important if you're going to be Spike.
He does have really fluffy hair.
It's really fluffy.
We're just rambling at this point.
And then the dog. Oh my god, I don't want that dog.
The dog is going to be the easiest one to catch.
Yeah.
They just like cast a,
Or really
like a llama.
It's Danny
It's
DeVito.
just-
No!
Woof.
What?
That would be really funny.
No!
I'm mine. I'm the dog.
I'm smart like a person.
Oh no.
That was a bad Danny DeVito, but I wasn't really trying to do Danny DeVito. Anyway,
It was just as good as mine.
the thing that I want to know that never go into the show is how did Jet and Spike meet? I kind of just want to see
Oh,
that,
yeah.
or
They
at least
never addressed
have reference to it, because like they're clearly best friends.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
And
they
they've been
bonded
friends
over
for a
definitely
while,
cared for
so
each
like,
other.
how did this happen? I kind of want to see a
Yeah.
small clip of it in the show, but to my knowledge, I've watched the show like 3 times through fully, and I don't think I've seen it.
You understand that they met after Jet became a bounty hunter.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
after Spike left the Syndicate, obviously.
I
Like, it must
mean-
have just been like they were after the same guy, and maybe like they
Maybe.
ended up
Maybe.
teaming up, and they're just like, you know what?
From watching other shows, a bond like that is developed over saving each other's lives, and we're relying
Which
on
they
the
do
other
over
person.
and over again.
They definitely met drinking.
Yeah, I can see them
Or
like at a
drinking.
bar drinking,
Yeah.
and they're just like both staking out a bounty.
I
Yeah.
mean, maybe that's how they got acquainted.
They
but,
land like a
they
1-2 punch on the
they
guy.
literally have like a deep bond where like one would go off, the other would be like, "Oh, he won't come back," but like really know he's coming back. You know, like they really know that they're tethered to each other. They put each other's lives in the other's hand to get to that point. That kind of scenario I can really see.
BFFs forever.
Yeah, BFFs
Yeah.
forever. Cool.
Forever's in that, but it's fine. I said it twice.
But yeah, I mean, it would. I feel like that's a good point. It's one thing that's missing from the show. You know, it would be nice to see, but that's not an invitation to open this show back up.
Please don't
Just
make a
leave it the
prequel.
way
Please
it
don't make
is,
a
and,
prequel.
Oh, for love
we'll
of
be
God,
happy
don't make
just
a prequel.
wondering. No prequels.
No one wants that.
No one wants a prequel or a sequel or a live action.
Hashtag no prequel. Hashtag rock for Jet.
So don't forget, everyone, to email us at gitcanime@gmail.com. And our episodes are always up on SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Play, and YouTube. And speaking of YouTube, we got a very nice message from one of our listeners. They said, "Yay, I found you guys. I recently found out your podcast on SoundCloud, and I just found you on YouTube. Thank you guys for making an awesome podcast." Well, thank you very much.
Thank you for listening.
Yeah, and he or she had a good question. They said they knew we prefer sub over dub in anime, but they're asking if we'd be willing to watch some more dub and give feedback on whether it was good or bad. So I think that's a really good idea. I think in future episodes we'll mention if it's available in both sub and dub, and if it is, we'll definitely give it a peek at both sub and dub episodes so we can compare, because usually the voice actors for the English voice actors are not up to par, but there are pretty
special
fantastic
cases,
yeah,
for
you
sure.
know, like Cowboy Bebop, for instance, fantastic. So going forward, we'll be sure to give you that information on each episode.
So thank you to the listener, No Anime, No Life. We
Yeah,
really
thanks for the
appreciate
shout
it.
out.
By the way, she is the self-proclaimed #1 fan of the podcast. If you think you're the #1 fan of the podcast, you should reach out to us.
Or give us some good questions like this listener did. We would always appreciate them. We also have our social media. We have Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, but you can always just check out gitcanime.com, where our website has all the cool updates and everything that you could possibly want and more. And if you love our show, you want to support it, please go to patreon.com, or you can just rate and review our show on iTunes.
We would love it. We'd read it on air. And if you send us an email, we'll also read that on air. A nice email or a hate email.
No, yeah, I'm not really about the
You
hate.
opened the door.
Just, I only, put the love out there, just, you put out there what you want to get back, just happy thoughts only. If you want to send us any suggestions or any tidbits, we'd be happy for that. And then also, thank you to Anthony for our awesome intro tune. And
thank you to Joe for joining us today.
And to Joe for being our
Thanks
guest.
for having me.
Would you like to plug your podcast?
Yes.
I would, sure, why not? I'll give it a shot. If you like superhero and comic book movies, I have a podcast where me and some other people talk about them and let you know how good or bad they are and why. It's called Zeros Talking Heroes. Zeros and Heroes end in ES. Search us on iTunes. Add ZTH Podcast on social media. And also, is there like a word of the week or something? Do we not do that now?
We did not! Thank you! Okay, our guest is asking us why we're not following our own script. And thank you.
Alright, so hold up a sec.
I was excited.
I looked up, I tried to find words that make sense. So my first word was to do cowboy, and it's literally cowboy. Okay, well, I'm not going to
That makes
cowboy.
sense. They say it in the sub as cowboy. So,
because a lot of their words came from the English language.
And then I was just like, okay, how about bounty? And it's literally bounty. But bounty hunter...
The quilted picker?
Bounty hunter is Shokin Kasagi.
Which is strange, because bounty is not either of those words.
It's probably translates into like hunter of the something. That
exactly
means the
that.
same as bounty.
So Joe says it's hunter of the something, and that is Shokin Kasagi. And that is our words of the week.
Thank you, Joe.
No problem.
Where would we be without you?
Shokin Kasagi.
Thanks for joining us. Look forward to next week.
Next week, we're going to be talking about the movie Your Name with Blake.
Very cool.
Woo! Woo! Bye, guys.
I kind of want to do the intro. I think it's about time to blow the scene. Get everybody in their stuff together. Okay, 3, 2, 1, let's jam. Banana, 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 banana. Banana, 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 banana. Banana, 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 banana. Banana, 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 banana. Song. Banana, 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 banana. Bye.
Meow.
You should see the dance.